I grew up thinking that there were many adventures in life that were off limits to me as a girl or a woman. I knew that I couldn't wander around the world like some of my male friends. I knew I shouldn't even walk home alone at night on my college campus in Chicago. I knew I shouldn't dress or act in ways that might send the wrong message about my availability. It took me an embarrassingly long time and some nudges really from my daughters to recognize what all these things I knew meant. They meant that I live in a culture that accepts all too freely the idea that boys and men are driven by ungovernable sexual urges, and that it was up to me to constrain my life in order to accommodate those urges. That is the basic view of the world that we really need to change. That view, that set of assumptions, has horrible effects on too many lives. We need to believe, every one of us, that rape is not something that girls or women should have to expect, and that boys or men should find acceptable. And we need to be fully conscious of the terrible cost of sexual violence. That is what tonight's production is about.
Brock Turner has been banished from campus. He is never allowed to set foot on Stanford grounds again. But many people here are still outraged, saying the judge's 6-month sentence sends the wrong message.
20-year-old swimming star Brock Turner could have been looking at 14 years for sexually assaulting an intoxicated and unconscious woman behind a dumpster on Stanford's campus. Caught in the act by 2 Swedish students who tackled and held him there until police arrived.
Naturally, it was bad. It was really horrible, but it was hard to see.
But instead of 14 years, a judge has ruled Turner will only spend 6 months in jail, eligible for parole in 3 months, citing the defendant's age and lack of criminal record at sentencing. In court documents obtained by NBC News, a probation officer writes, Turner is remorseful, saying in his own words, I can barely live with myself. I can't even get out of bed in the morning. I think about it every second of every day. But the lenient sentence has enraged thousands. Online, a petition circulating with more than 200,000 signatures calling for the judge to be removed from the bench. Some saying this is a case of class privilege.
If getting good grades or swimming fast is a basis for giving you an exception from the California state minimum penalties, then basically what you're saying is it's open season on college women.
Others pointing out the judge was a former Stanford athlete himself, and adding fuel to the rage, a statement made by Turner's father asking for leniency, saying his life will never be the one that he dreamed about and worked so hard to achieve. That is a steep price to pay for 20 minutes of action out of his 20-plus years of life. Turner's father now apologizing for his choice of words, while the victim has written a heart-wrenching 12-page letter to Turner that's gone viral. Your damage was concrete, stripped of titles, degrees, enrollment. My damage was internal, unseen. I carry it with me. You took away my worth, my privacy, my energy, my time, my safety, my intimacy, my confidence, my own voice. Until today.
How old are you? How much do you weigh? What did you eat that day? What did you have for dinner? Who made dinner? Did you drink with dinner? No?
Who dropped you off?
Not even water?
At what time?
When did you drink?
But where
How much
exactly?
did you drink?
What were you wearing?
Did you drink out of?
Why were you going to this
gave
party?
you the
Phone
drink?
on silent when your sister called.
How much
What did you do?
Do you
when
remember
got there?
silencing it?
Are you serious?
Did you
Are
drink
you
in
sure
college?
you did that?
Are you
said you
sexually
were a
active?
party
with
animal.
her?
What time?
How many times
did
did
you
you
start
black
dating?
out?
What time you woke up?
Did
Would
you
you
party
ever
in
What
flats?
does
What were
this
you wearing?
text
You have a
When did you
history of
urinate?
cheating.
What color
Where
What do
did
you
you
mean when you
urinate?
said you
Who were
wanted
you
to
texting?
With
reward
whom
him?
did you urinate
from that
outside?
night?
Your Honor, if it is all right, for the majority of this statement, I would like to address the defendant directly. You don't know me, but you've been inside me. And that's why we're here today. On January 17th, 2015, it was a quiet Saturday night at home. My dad made some dinner, and I sat at the table with my younger sister, who was visiting for the weekend. I was working full-time, and it was approaching my bedtime. I planned to stay at home by myself, watch some TV, and read while she went to a party with her friends. Then I decided it was my only night with her, and I had nothing better to do, so why not? On the way there, I joked that undergrad guys would have braces. My sister teased me for wearing a beige cardigan to a frat party like a librarian. I let my guard down and drank liquor too fast, not factoring in that my tolerance had significantly lowered since college. The next thing I remember, I was in a gurney in a hallway. I had dried blood and bandages on the backs of my hands and elbow. I thought maybe I had fallen and was in an admin office on campus. I was very calm and wondering where my sister was. A deputy explained I had been assaulted. I still remained calm, assured he was speaking to the wrong person. I knew no one at this party. My brain was talking my gut into not collapsing because my gut was saying, "Help me, help me." I was asked to sign papers that said rape victim, and I thought something has really happened. My clothes were confiscated, and I stood naked while the nurses held a ruler to various abrasions on my body and photographed them. I had multiple swabs inserted into me and a camera pointed right into my spread legs. After a few hours of this, they let me shower. I stood there examining my body beneath the stream of water and decided, I don't want my body anymore. I was terrified of it. I didn't know what had been in it, if it had been contaminated, who had touched it. I wanted to take off my body like a jacket and leave it at the hospital with everything else. On that morning, all that I was told was that I had been found behind a dumpster, potentially penetrated by a stranger, and that I should get retested for HIV because results don't always show up immediately. But for now, I should go home and get back to my normal life. Imagine stepping back into the world with only that information. That day we drove home, and for hours in silence, my younger sister held me. My boyfriend did not know what happened, but called that day and said, "I was really worried about you last night. You scared me. Did you make it home okay?" I was horrified. That's when I learned I had called him that night in my blackout, left an incomprehensible voicemail that we had also spoken on the phone, but I was slurring so heavily he was scared for me that he repeatedly told me to go find my sister. Again, he asked me, "What happened last night? Did you make it home okay?" I said yes and hung up to cry. I was not ready to tell my boyfriend or parents that actually I may have been raped behind a dumpster. But I don't know by who or when or how. If I had told them, I would see the fear on their faces and mine would multiply by tenfold. So instead, I pretended the whole thing wasn't real. You don't know me, but you've been inside me, and that's why we're here today.
The day of January 17th, 2015 started out like most days at school were spent, by getting up and going to swim practice. Having spent the past 4 months on campus living around my friends, who were essentially all on the swim team, I had plans to spend time with them later that day. Coming from a small town in Ohio, I had never really experienced celebrating or partying that involved alcohol. However, when I came to school in California, it had become what I expected when spending a Saturday night with friends. Having spent most of my time around people that consumed alcohol daily, I thought it was a fundamental thing to being in college and living like a college student. I also had the opportunity to witness on multiple occasions people being intimate at parties that involved alcohol. I remember attending social gatherings with the swim team where these things were not only accepted, but almost encouraged for the freshman experience. That's why, on January 17th, I was excited to attend a party that my friend, who was a freshman on the swim team at the time, was hosting at his dorm. If I could go back and change what unfolded on the night of January 17th, I would do it in a heartbeat because I never meant to hurt anyone. I arrived at that party with 2 other friends of mine that were also swimmers. Once I was there, I began consuming alcohol in the form of beer while socializing with people at the party. I had approximately 5 beers while I was in his room. I eventually drank 2 swigs of Fireball whiskey in addition to the beer I had already drank. I felt comfortable and safe, knowing that I was just one of many members of the swim team that were there. It felt as though this behavior with consuming alcohol was completely ordinary and what was accepted within my newfound family. Eventually, the party at my freshman classmate's dorm got broken up by the RAs around 11 o'clock due to noise restrictions sent by them. Someone verbalized that the fraternity Kappa Alpha was holding a party that we could attend. I arrived at the frat party through the back entrance of the house, and as I passed through the patio doors into the basement area of the house, I spotted my captain of the swim team playing a drinking game. Someone then decided to turn the lights off downstairs, which signalized for people to stop playing the drinking game on the table and instead start dancing on top of them. My swim captain encouraged me to start having more fun. So, taking his advice, I get on top of the tables and began dancing. Eventually, myself and another girl that was dancing on that same table began dancing together. Then she got up close to me and said that she was astonished that I looked exactly like one of her friends at the school she went to. I took this as a sign that she was flirting with me, and after a period of more socializing, I find myself kissing her. I bring up the idea to her of coming back to my dorm room, and she agrees to accompany me back there. We begin walking back to my room towards the path that would eventually lead me to my house. During this time, we walked down a slope in the direction towards the path we were heading. The next thing I realized is that we're both on the ground, laying next to each other, because it seemed as though she had lost her footing heading down the slope, and I just went down with her. We started laughing about it, and I was just thinking of how much of a klutz I could be. I asked her if she was all right, and she tells me that she thought she was. And after this happened, we started kissing each other again on the ground on which we fell. I idiotically rationalized that since we had been making out where each of us fell on the ground, that it would be a good idea to take things a step further since we were just in the heat of the moment at that location.
I tried to push it out of my mind, but it was so heavy I didn't talk. I didn't eat, I didn't sleep, I didn't interact with anyone. After work, I would drive to a secluded place to scream. I became isolated from the ones I loved most. The night the news came out, I sat my parents down and told them that I had been assaulted. To not look at the news because it's upsetting, just know that I'm okay. I'm right here and I'm okay. But halfway through telling them, my mom had to hold me because I could no longer stand up. The night after it happened, he said he didn't know my name. He said he wouldn't be able to identify my face in a lineup, didn't mention any dialogue between us, no words, only dancing and kissing. He admitted to kissing other girls at that party, one of whom was my sister, who pushed him away. He admitted to wanting to hook up with someone. I was the wounded antelope of the herd, completely alone and vulnerable, physically unable to fend for myself. And he chose me. Sometimes I think if I hadn't gone, then this never would have happened. But then I realized it would have happened just to somebody else. You were about to enter 4 years of access to drunk girls and parties, and if this is the foot you started off on, then it is right you did not continue. The night after it happened, he said he thought I liked it because I rubbed his back. A back rub. Never mentioned me voicing consent. Never mentioned us even speaking. A back rub. I thought there's no way this is going to trial. There were witnesses. There was dirt in my body. He ran, but was caught. He's going to settle, formally apologize, and we will both move on. Instead, I was told he hired a powerful lawyer, expert witnesses, private investigators who were going to try and find details about my personal life to use against me. Find loopholes in my story to invalidate me and my sister in order to show that this sexual assault was in fact a misunderstanding, that he was going to go to any length to convince the world he had simply been confused. When I was told to be prepared in case we didn't win, I said, I can't prepare for that. He was guilty. No one can talk me out of the hurt he caused me. My memory loss would be used against me. My testimony was weak, was incomplete, and I was made to believe that perhaps I am not enough to win this. I was not only told that I was assaulted, I was told that because I couldn't remember, I technically could not prove it was unwanted. His lawyer constantly reminded the jury, the only one we can believe is Brock because she doesn't remember.
When did you drink? How much did you drink? What container did you drink out of? Who gave you the drink? How much do you usually drink? Are you serious with your boyfriend? Are you sexually active with him? When did you start dating? Would you ever cheat? Do you have a history of cheating?
No, the helplessness was traumatizing. Instead of taking time to heal, I was taking time to recall the night in excruciating detail in order to prepare for the attorney's questions that would be invasive, aggressive, and designed to steer me off course, to contradict myself, my sister, phrased in ways to manipulate my answers. Instead of his lawyer saying, "Did you notice any abrasions?" he said,
You didn't notice any abrasions, right?
this was a game of strategy, as if I could be tricked out of my own worth. The sexual assault had been so clear, but instead, here I was at the trial answering questions like,
Did you drink in college?
No.
You said you were at a party.
No.
How much time did you black out for?
No.
Do you remember what time you woke up?
Please stop.
Do you remember any more from that night? No? Okay. Well, we'll let Brock fill it in.
I was pummeled with narrowed, pointed questions that dissected my personal life, love life, past life, family life, inane questions accumulating trivial details to try and find an excuse for this guy who had me half naked before even bothering to ask my name. After a physical assault, I was assaulted with questions designed to attack me, to say, "See, her facts don't line up. She's out of her mind. She's practically an alcoholic. She probably wanted to hook up. He's like an athlete, right? They were both drunk. Brock has a lot at stake, so he's having a really hard time right now." And then it came time for him to testify, and I learned what it meant to be re-victimized. A new dialogue emerged. Brock had a strange new story that almost sounded like a poorly written young adult novel, with kissing and dancing and hand-holding and lovingly tumbling onto the ground. And most importantly, in this new story, there was suddenly consent. 1 year after the incident, he remembered, "Oh yeah, by the way, she actually said yes to everything." So he said he had asked if I wanted to dance. Apparently I said yes. He'd asked if I wanted to go to his dorm. I said yes. Then he asked if he could finger me, and I said yes. Most guys don't ask, "Can I finger you?" Usually there's a natural progression of things, unfolding consensually, not a Q&A. But apparently I granted full permission. He's in the clear. Even in his story, I only said a total of 3 words, "Yes, yes, yes," before he had me half naked on the ground. For future reference, if you are confused about whether a girl can consent, see if she can speak an entire sentence. You couldn't even do that. Just one coherent string of words. Where was the confusion? This is common sense, human decency. According to him, the only reason we were on the ground was because I fell down. Note, if a girl falls down, help her get back up. If she is too drunk to even walk and falls down, do not get on her. If a girl falls down, help her up. Next in the story, 2 guys on bicycles approached you and you ran. When they tackled you, why didn't you say, "Stop, everything's okay, go ask her, she's right over there, she'll tell you"? I mean, you had just asked for my consent, right? I was awake, right? When the policeman arrived and interviewed the guy who tackled you, he was crying so hard he couldn't speak because of what he'd seen.
Dear Judge, I am writing this letter to tell you about my son Brock and the person I know he is. First of all, let me say that Brock is absolutely devastated by the events of January 17th and 18th, 2015. He would do anything to turn back the hands of time and have that night to do over again. In many one-on-one conversations with Brock since that day, I can tell you that he is truly sorry for what occurred that night and for all of the pain and suffering that it has caused for all those involved and impacted by that night. He has expressed true remorse for his actions on that night. Living under the same roof with Brock since that incident, I can tell you firsthand the devastating impact that it has had on my son.
He has done irreversible damage to me and my family during the trial, and we have sat silently, listening to him shape the evening.
I have never seen Brock raise his voice to anyone, and he doesn't prejudge anyone. He accepts them for who they are, no more, no less. He has a very gentle and quiet nature and a smile that is truly welcoming to those around him. I have never once heard him brag or boast about any accomplishment that he has ever achieved. He is simply a very humble person who would rather hear about someone else's accomplishments rather than talk about his own.
But in the end, his unsupported statements and his attorney's twisted logic fooled no one. The truth won. The truth spoke for itself.
Brock has an inner strength and fortitude that is beyond anything I have ever seen. This was no doubt honed over many years of competitive swimming.
You are guilty. 12 jurors convicted you guilty of 3 felony counts beyond reasonable doubt. That's 12 votes per count. 36 yeses confirming guilt. That's 100% unanimous guilt.
I could never go back to being the person I was before that day. I am no longer a swimmer, a student, a resident of California, or the product of the work that I've put in to accomplish the goals that I set out in my first 19 years of life. Not only have I altered my life, but I've also changed her life and her family's life. I am the sole proprietor of what happened on the night that these people's lives were changed forever. I would give anything to change what happened that night. I could never forgive myself for imposing trauma and pain on her.
And I thought, finally, it's over. Finally, he will own up to what he did, truly apologize. We will both move on and get better. Then I read your statement.
I wish I had the ability to go back in time and never pick up a drink that night, let alone interact with her. I can barely hold a conversation with someone without having my mind drift off into thinking these thoughts. They torture me.
If you are hoping that one of my organs will implode from anger and I will die, I'm almost there. You are very close. This is not a story of another drunk college hookup with poor decision-making. Assault is not an accident. Somehow you still don't get it. Somehow you still sound confused. You said on being drunk.
I just couldn't make it the best decision, and neither could she.
Alcohol is not an excuse. Is it a factor? Yes. But alcohol was not the one who stripped me, fingered me, had my head dragging against the ground with me almost fully naked. Having too much to drink was an amateur mistake that I admit to, but it is not criminal. Regretting drinking is not the same as regretting sexual assault. We were both drunk. The difference is I did not take your pants and underwear off, touch you inappropriately, and run away. That's the difference. You said,
if I wanted to get to know her, I should have asked for her number rather than asking her to go back to my room.
I'm not mad because you didn't ask for my number. Even if you did know me, I would not want to be in this situation. My own boyfriend knows me, but if he asked to finger me behind a dumpster, I would slap him. No girl wants to be in this situation. Nobody. I don't care if you know their phone number or not. You said,
I want to show that people's lives can be destroyed by drinking and making poor decisions while doing so. One needs to recognize the influence that peer pressure and the attitude of having to fit in can have on someone. One decision has the potential to change your entire life.
you want to speak out against the college campus drinking culture and the sexual promiscuity that goes along with that? Campus drinking culture? That's what we're speaking out against? You realize having a drinking problem is different than drinking and then forcefully trying to have sex with someone? Show men how to respect women, not how to drink less.
I know I can impact and change people's attitudes towards the culture surrounded by binge drinking and sexual promiscuity that protrudes through what people think is at the core of being a college student. I want to demolish the assumption that drinking and partying are what make up a college lifestyle. I made a mistake. I drank too much, and my decisions hurt someone.
Rest assured, if you fail to fix the topic of your talk, I will follow you to every school you go to and give a follow-up presentation.
What I know as his father is that incarceration is not the appropriate punishment for Brock. He has no prior criminal history and has never been violent to anyone, including his actions on the night of January 17th, 2015. Brock can do so many positive things as a contributor to society and is totally committed to educating other college-age students about the dangers of alcohol consumption and sexual promiscuity.
My independence, natural joy, gentleness, and steady lifestyle I had been enjoying became distorted beyond recognition. I became closed off, angry, self-deprecating, tired, irritable, empty. The isolation at times was unbearable. You cannot give me back the life I had before that night either. While you worry about your shattered reputation, I refrigerated spoons every night so when I woke up and my eyes were puffy from crying, I would hold the spoons to my eyes to lessen the swelling so that I could see.
I've lost my chance to swim at the Olympics. I've lost my ability to obtain a Stanford degree. I've lost employment opportunity, my reputation, and most of all, my life.
A life? One life? Yours? You forgot about mine. Let me rephrase for you. I want to show people that one night of drinking can ruin 2 lives. You and me. You are the cause, I am the effect. You have dragged me through this hell with you, dipped me back into that night again and again. You knocked down both our towers. I collapsed at the same time you did. If you think I was spared, came out unscathed, that today I ride off into the sunset while you suffer the greatest blow, you are mistaken. Nobody wins. We have all been devastated. We have all been trying to find some meaning in all of this suffering. Your damage was concrete, stripped of titles, degrees, enrollment. My damage was internal, unseen. I carry it with me.
I want to let young people know, as I did not, that things can go from fun to ruined in just one evening.
His life will never be the one that he dreamed about and worked so hard to achieve. That is a steep price to pay for 20 minutes of action out of his 20-plus years of life.
You took away my worth, my privacy, my energy, my time, my safety, my intimacy, my confidence, my own voice. Until today. See, one thing that we have in common is that we were both unable to get up in the morning. I am no stranger to suffering. You made me a victim. In newspapers, my name was unconscious, intoxicated woman. 10 syllables, and nothing more than that. For a while, I believed that that was all I was. I had to force myself to relearn my name, my identity. I am not just a drunk victim at a frat party found behind a dumpster, while you are the all-American swimmer at a top university, innocent until proven guilty, with so much at stake. I am a human being who has been irreversibly hurt. My life was put on hold for over a year, waiting to figure out if I was worth something. My independence, natural joy, gentleness, and steady lifestyle I had been enjoying became distorted beyond recognition. And now we both have a choice. We can let this destroy us. I can remain angry and hurt, and you can be in denial. Or we can face it head on. I accept the pain, you accept the punishment, and we move on.
I want no one, male or female, to have to experience the destructive consequences of making decisions while under the influence of alcohol.
He has only apologized for drinking and has yet to define what he did to me as sexual assault. He has re-victimized me continually, relentlessly. He has been found guilty of 3 serious felonies, and it is time for him to accept the consequences of his actions. He will not be quietly excused. He is a lifetime sex registrant. That doesn't expire. Just like what he did to me doesn't expire, doesn't just go away after a set number of years. It stays with me. It's part of my identity. It has forever changed the way I carry myself, the way I live the rest of my life. To conclude, I want to say thank you to everyone, from the intern who made me oatmeal when I woke up at the hospital that morning, to the deputy who waited beside me, to the nurses who calmed me, to the detective who listened to me and never judged me, to my advocates who stood unwaveringly beside me, to my therapist who taught me to find courage in vulnerability, to my boss for being kind and understanding, to my incredible parents who teach me how to turn pain into strength, to my grandma who snuck chocolate into the courtroom throughout this to give to me, my friends who remind me how to be happy, to my boyfriend who is patient and loving, to my unconquerable sister who is the other half of my heart, to my lawyer, my idol, who fought tirelessly and never doubted me. And thank you to girls across the nation that wrote cards to give me, so many strangers who cared for me, to girls and anyone who has been a victim of sexual assault everywhere. I am with you. On nights when you feel alone, I am with you. When people doubt you or dismiss you, I am with you. I fought every day for you, so never stop fighting. I believe you. As the author Anne Lamott once wrote, lighthouses don't go running all over an island looking for boats to save. They just stand there shining. Although I can't save every boat, I hope that by speaking today you absorbed a small amount of light, a small knowing that you can't be silenced, a small satisfaction that justice was served, a small assurance that we are getting somewhere, and a big, big knowing that you are important. Unquestionably, you are untouchable. You are beautiful. You are to be valued, respected, undeniably, every minute of every day. You are powerful, and nobody can take that away from you. I am with you.
We have a big problem, and we need your help.
It's happening on college campuses, at bars, at parties, even in high schools.
It's happening to our sisters and our daughters,
our wives and our friends.
It's called sexual assault, and it has to stop.
We have to stop it. So listen up.
If she doesn't consent, or if she can't consent, it's rape, it's assault.
It's a crime. It's wrong.
If I saw it happening, I was taught you have to do something about it.
If I saw it happening, I speak up.
If I saw it happening, I'd never blame her. I'd help her.
Because I don't want to be a part of the problem.
I want to be a part of the solution.
We need all of you to be part of the solution. This is about respect. It's about responsibility.
It's up to all of us to put an end to sexual assault. And that starts with you.
Because one is too many.